and welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial or noteworthy comic books. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
Here we go, Bleach Part 5?
Yeah,
Yes.
just a note, I lied. I said we did parts 4 and 5 in one go. We're not doing it. We had to give up that vaunted ambition.
Yeah, we convened after and we're all like, don't we have to eat food? And we're like, yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, my allergies have kicked the shit out of me, so sorry that I'm extra nasally.
Oh boy. Ryan plus.
Yeah. Oh no.
So we were just talking about homo superior, but you're homo inferior.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, that's been clear since day one.
That's an X-Men reference for those who don't know.
Yeah. For
Off
those of you
air.
that-
I don't know why we were talking about it. I don't remember. Oh, because we think all humans should be replaced. So yeah, that's the mindset we're going into Bleach Part 5.
All the humans in Karakura Town are soon going to be replaced by Aizen, because if you remember, he's trying to form a key by their souls. But
not as soon as you think, because the pacing of this book is slow as hell.
yeah, so
It really is.
So what happens is, now that all the captains are going to fight Aizen in Fake Karakura Town, we get like this huge, I would say it's a filler arc, because a lot of these fights don't matter, even if it's like, we have to defend these 4 pillars that are helping the Fake Karakura Town like exist in this world, and then there's like 4 mini Espada that go out to fight, and then the captains all send their guys out to fight, and there's a lot of fights here, and this is where I think a lot of people that read Bleach, or at least I might be projecting too much here, but I'm like, this is where you're like, I'm ready for this to like really end. Like I'm all set.
Darryl just posted like this title page for each one, and it's just characters you don't know doing poses and stuff. And
Okay, I have a question about the cover of Bleach 322, Oath Under the Rose. Are those pubes? Or is
I
that a
asked
shadow?
a question. I don't want to.
That guy? That's pubes.
What guy has like his pants?
Those are pubes?
Those are pubes. Yeah. So
Okay, it is.
he wears like a very like, it's sort of like a magical girl outfit, I believe, when he powers up and stuff, and he shows off his pubes. He's like a big muscular man.
So in our big PDF, Darryl just included a lot of the cover pages that are like pinups of just like the different fights.
More like pube ups.
And yeah, one of them is just like a guy like making a kissy face, and he's got his 8-pack out and like just a bunch of pubes.
Yeah.
There's a like a dark skinned woman. On page 315, is she just naked and with like a flap of clothes, or is her armor just also colored all the same color?
No, her armor's like bones, like how the Spada have like the bones on their body and stuff. It's like that's what's covering her breasts.
So she's just naked with like a tiny flap.
Daryl's being generous when he says it's covering her breasts. It's just the nipple.
How dare you call this filler arc? This looks amazing. I wish I didn't miss it.
Well, there's like, the only cool guy there is the Espada number 2, if you remember the Espada ranked 1 to 10. And number 2 is basically the aspect of death that is aging. And what he does is he just makes a giant orb that keeps growing and growing. And if you touch inside of it, you instantly age to where you die. And he's neat. He was the old king of Hueco Mundo, Hell. And then Aizen came in and kicked him out. And then right before he dies, he tries to throw his weapon at Aizen, and Aizen just like looks at it and it shatters. So he's really cool.
And speaking of that, Darryl makes a note between all these title pages. None of these fights have any impact on the plot whatsoever. In fact, the sub point is that by the end, Aizen literally starts killing his own troops just with Naru along, and shows that dark-skinned boob like really naked lady just getting killed by Aizen, and he's like, "You're no longer of use for me. None of you are worthy of fighting under me. And now I'm just gonna kill you just to get this plot moving, basically."
Yeah, that was It's so funny too, because there's like all this cool stuff going on where like the captains are using their bankai. Like you get to see little boy captain uses like an ice bankai that when it snows, if the snow touches you, you freeze instantly. So he's like freezing all these like people, but like that's a good point to kill her with it. And she doesn't die, and then the fight keeps going, and then Aizen's just like, okay, now you die because I don't care anymore.
But pacing aside, doesn't this kind of address Sly's complaint with Shonen, where it's like these characters, they do one thing ever and then they never show up again? But these guys, they're like, hey, look, they're still powerful and strong. It would be better if they had an impact on the plot.
Like the captains?
Like it's cool that they're not ignored. That they're not like, oh, there's just a guy.
That's why I I always compare it to Dragon Ball. That's shonen I grew up with. But like these characters still have arcs and like character progression, and they still are formidable figures. Like it does the manga. It could tone it down a bit, but I do like that it does make an effort to show that these are still like forces in the world, and they still have personality.
And they're still strong, even if they can't beat the main boss.
Sure.
It sounds like so. Now, keep in mind, I haven't read them, so I can't say for sure. But what it sounds like they're there. It sounds like you guys talking about this sounds like when I talk about the Star Wars prequels, where I'm like, all of this stuff seems good on paper, but wow, is it boring and terrible to actually sit and experience? So, like, if they're just fighting and it doesn't actually affect the plot at all, it might be. Theoretically, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but if it's like getting in the way of the story advancing, I could see why that's also kind of boring.
I can see that too, but my counterpoint is that's my problem with shonen in general. So like if I'm gonna be forced watching a lot of fighting, I rather
that's true.
A lot of fighting that goes nowhere. Instead of just having Goku himself for pages and pages, I would rather just have a bunch of cool other characters.
That's very fair. It's like using the trope, but in a way that is definitely more fair to the other characters.
The best part of the Star Wars prequels was like when they fight Darth Maul and stuff like that. Those are the best parts anyway. It's like they should have just all been fighting. And
I can't even tell you guys how bad this is before you're like, this is actually good, even if I haven't read it. I'm like, read it.
Yeah,
please.
You know what?
Please read it.
And that's actually when I actually thought about this the other day. I'm like imagining having to wait week for week for this to come out.
Yeah.
Or like longer sometimes.
The thing too is like all these people get their own individual fights where it's like, let's just focus on like these two characters fighting each other. And some of them it's like, sure, it's like you like their design, so you like them, so you're looking forward to what the fight's like. But it's just like it's so many characters and it doesn't feel like anything, again, like story-wise, like you're just watching Aizen and the captains watch these people fight for a while and you're like, come on. And even when the captains are fighting these people, I never felt like it's like there's a lot of stakes. It's like where Ryan brought up where Ichigo can get like a hole blown through him and he's still alive and stuff, and you watch all these captains fight.
I disagree. I actually completely disagree. When Byakuya fought the eye guy, Ichigo, you know he's always going to win because he's the main character. Like you don't know what's going to happen to anyone else. Like I thought Byakuya.
Okay,
I thought Byakuya was gonna be chatted. I thought he's gonna be new Chad. Like, look, Byakuya sucks. These new guys are better. So like a lot of this, at least that fight, I was like, Byakuya's not a main character. He can get his ass kicked, and I have no idea how this fight's gonna go.
Sure, there's only one character on their side that actually like outright loses a fight, but the rest of them win the fights. And I feel like by the second to last fight that you're watching these people do against these like trash tier enemies, or like just bad Espada, you don't feel that the fear.
So the captains all
maybe
win?
That's the thing is that you haven't read like 5 captains all fighting these people and they all win one by one. You're not at a point where
counterpoint.
at the last one.
Maybe it gets repetitive when you get the captains, but this series had like Chad getting the job. Like the series has
because that's Chad's. That's what he does. He just
I know,
loses.
but like I feel like this series more than a lot of manga. You can't tell who. I guess you get to but I feel even until a captain maybe 20, you still won't know who's gonna how guaranteed a fight is with this secondary characters.
Maybe we'll do a bonus episode or something where Phil and Sly have to read this stuff.
And defend it the whole time.
I hate it, but I would do it, and I would just wait for them to see. You know what's going to happen, Ryan? They're going to actually like it out of spite for me. They're going to be like, actually, I like the guy with 69 tattooed on his face, what his ability is.
Oh, yeah, I should have said this like ages ago. When Darryl was shitting on the second week of 52, I told Ryan, like, I'm going to like Bleach out of spite now. Like, calm down. But I am being genuine in my opinion. I do actually. I do.
You feel like it's genuine, but that keikaku from a while ago is in your bones. You can't not like it now because the spite is within you.
Yeah.
It's just the reason why I say that is because it's just so funny that like. It is now. We've been recording for 9 minutes, and it's like you guys are arguing the merits of something that you haven't read.
I know. It's
and
like I'm the one that's the expert on this, and you guys are like, it sounds good though, and I'm like, then read it.
Theoretically, everything you're saying is valid and makes sense. It just seems so ridiculous.
I want to point out something ironic, Ryan. The reason why I am fine with this is because of One Punch Man, which you said you liked a lot more than I did. And the reason why One Punch Man immunized me to this because these are at least characters I got introduced to beforehand, got to know in fights that I don't know where's going. One Punch Man are fights that go nowhere endlessly for characters I have no idea who they are. I don't know their backstory.
Yeah, that's very fair. And for the record, like we're talking like season 2, how it just goes absolutely nowhere and doesn't matter. So yeah, I understand.
So what happens, Sly? Then if season 3 pops up and it has all these characters from season 2 fighting characters you don't know now? Are you going to be like, this is actually pretty great? Because now you know the season 2 people, right?
Yeah, so I probably will like it.
All right. Well,
okay,
you know what?
fair.
I can't argue with that, if that's your opinion.
But yeah.
Okay, so, well,
okay.
well, there's all that fighting going on. we cut back to Hueco Mundo Hell. And inside, Ichigo flies up like this tower, and he goes to fight UIquiorra in order to save Orihime. And this fight is also another one, like with the Grimmjow one, this fight goes on for a long time, and this is where I was like, I need to cut something. I'm either cutting the Grimmjow fight down to where you don't even get his backstory, or I have to cut the UIquiorra, like the beginning of the fight and the very end of it, because you get the gist of how it goes. I really want to show you basically like all the story beats of it.
I was surprised you cut Emo Boy, your favorite characters.
Sometimes you make a sacrifice when you're like, Grimmjow is probably a better encapsulation of the fighting than this guy, even though I like him more. So we cut to...
If you truly love something, you'll let it go right there.
Yes, exactly. So we cut to midway through the fight where UIquiorra, if you remember, all the Espada have a resurrection form where they put their Bankai into themselves and then they become their Bankai. And he's already transformed in this form. And UIquiorra...
his form sucks, by the way. He looks like a fucking middle school drawing. Like... It really looks fucking... It's like he's like him with like bat wings. I'm like, wow, that's slow effort.
This form is really kind of dumb looking.
I kind of like it.
That's the middle schooler and you being like, awesome.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think it's more because he looks sad the whole time, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it just visually having this after all these guys are like, I love fighting, I'm the best fighter in the whole world. Seeing someone that just looks sad all the time
Yes.
was more visually distinct than me than a lot of the other fights.
Yeah.
And I know that is very shallow and sounds super dumb, but
No,
the
that's
heart
why I
wants what
like
it
him.
wants.
And when he goes into this form, like he has these marks under his eyes, they get even bigger, so it looks like he's like crying.
I feel like I drew this guy in my notebooks like a million times in high school when I was emo. So like, I'm
Well,
like,
this is why you hate him. It's because you're like,
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
let little Sly win.
I feel like I'm also like such a huge fan of Sly's art that now I'm like, is it just because the people look sad a lot?
So UIquiorra is like, I like him as a character, even though I couldn't show you a lot of the stuff. Like he has an interesting rapport with Orihime, where he basically wants to know, it's like, he's what makes you a human, like what makes you feel feelings, because he's never understood. He's too outside. It's like a robot looking in. Whenever he fights Ichigo, he's pretty much won every time he's fought against him. And so they both transform. Ichigo puts on his hollow mask and he transforms into his, Bankai form. And they're fighting. And this guy's just like a way stronger than Ichigo. So as they're battling, they're just like...
He literally goes into his face. UIquiorra goes into Ichigo's face and says, hey, can you shoot your Getsuga Tensha at me? Like,
Tensha.
do it right in my face. And Ichigo's like, you don't have to tell me to do that. Of course I'm going to. And he does it.
UIquiorra says to him, I will show you the difference between us. And so Ichigo does it, and you get like a big panel
it's a cool
of him hitting
page.
him.
There's like this black, like the whole screen is being consumed by this black like slash of the Getsuga. And you see UIquiorra in the middle of it, and it's like blasting around him because he's just standing and taking it.
Yep.
And then afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, you're just a human in the end."
Yep. And he's like, oh, check out this. I'm going to fire my Sero, the laser all Espada have, but mine is a black Sero. And then he shoots it.
he's so goth.
Yeah. And he blasts Ichigo. It shatters his mask. And
The artist probably like, thank God, I just draw pages of blackness consuming Ichigo. Like,
Yes,
saved so much time.
that's another thing too, is how people can notice where it's like his art for a lot of these pages is just like a big like black swath coming at one character or the other, and it's probably really easy to draw. And he's like, boom, that's my work for this week.
It does look cool, but it is lazy as hell.
And so while this is happening, Orihime and the Quincy finally manage to get to her. They're like down below because they break through the ceiling of Hueco Mundo, and it's like another world outside of it or something. I forget what it is, but they fly up there. He brings her up to see what's going on. And it's basically Ichigo's just getting his ass kicked by this guy. He keeps like slapping him around through walls and stuff, and he's yelling at him. He's like, "It's useless. Why do you keep fighting back against me?"
This is like such an anime thing. I don't know what started this, what brings this on. And villains never just fucking beat the hero. They're always like, you have to give up. I'm gonna keep making you realize
This is why you're complaining, but it's literally you. You're like,
Yeah.
I want them to give up on all hope because
I that's what I like. That's why I like this overall. I just find it funny. It always happens this way. They're never like, I'm gonna kick your ass. They're like, I want you to surrender and feel ultimate true despair in my hands.
yeah, it's true.
It's because
really
it's a lot more satisfying to beat someone and have them be like, they realize they were wrong and that they have no chance to win. And so that's what he's doing with him. It's also partially Ukiyora's thing is he doesn't understand, the human heart and human courage and stuff. He's like, look, he says, you've seen the sheer difference in our powers, yet you still think you can beat me. And Ichigo's like, hey, you think I'd really give up just because you're stronger? He's like, I knew that from the start. I'm just gonna beat you. And so Ukiyora's like, okay, I'm gonna show you true despair. And he goes into a second resurrection form. So he goes a Bankai
Super
above
Saiyan
Bankai.
2.
I'm pretty sure that he's just Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Yeah, I was gonna say he should do a heavy metal album now.
This is the one. I like this form because he looks like a kind of like a satyr or something.
It looks cool, I think.
Yeah, a satyr.
It looks like he has hair, but it's just like black. You can't tell. It's just like blackness covering
And
his
his fingers
legs.
It
get
looks
really
like
long.
the Venom symbiote, like he has wings, and the Venom symbiote slowly consuming his entire body, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. He's got really long, like, claw-like fingers, and it is
Again,
pretty cool.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I like
this
this better than the other design.
Well, the
Yeah,
other
definitely.
design reminded me of like Cell before he's perfect Cell, and he just kind of looks like like puberty Cell.
To me, it's like the other design was too much like all the Resurrection forms look very different than just a humanoid, and his original form or the Resurrection form looked like he just had wings and that was it. Whereas like Grimjow turned into a panther and the Love guy had a bunch of pumpkin eyes on him and stuff. They didn't look unique enough.
Yeah.
So he turns to this form and he's like, all right, now I'm going to rip your body to shreds and make you understand true despair. And then you have, like, he flies at Ichigo and Ichigo thinks he's looking at him, but instead he's, like, to his side. And he just throws him through a whole bunch of buildings. And he puts on the mask, but it doesn't even matter because he just, like, shatters it instantly.
Yeah, he's so outclassed that
Yeah,
it's
he,
like...
he already lost... Ichigo lost having the hollow mask on before, and now this guy goes like a power level above him, so he's just slapping the shit out of him. And then Orihime finally arrives, and Ukiorra, this is such a dope move.
Speaking of ultimate despair,
Yeah, he says, "Oh, you're just in time. Watch closely. This is the moment the man you put your hope in will lose his life." And he just blows a giant hole through his chest and like evaporates his heart instantly.
Into Ichigo's chest,
Yeah,
specifically.
into Ichigo's chest. And it even does like a thing where it shows you like all the panels are just like he has a big hole in his chest where it's like before he's been like slashed and it looks like he's like bleeding and dying, but there hasn't been like a, internal organs are missing kind of a scene. Whereas here, like he just gets killed literally.
Yeah, so like last time we talked a lot about how he's had a lot of external organ damage, but no internal organ damage.
yeah, here he literally just is like, and it's a big hole, the big hole in his chest.
Yeah.
But again, this is what I think is so dumb. Because, spoilers, he doesn't die forever. So then what does this mean?
I
This
agree.
means nothing.
It's always you gotta keep fighting and never lose hope. Stuff like that.
But this guy has a hole in his chest.
You never give up hope, Brian. You should fucking worship this most. Like, never give up hope. Even if you hold in chest, you never give up hope.
But that's,
Sly, that philosophy is going to be very important for the final arc of Bleach.
but keeping hope in like when
Oh, so Ryan's like, oh, Superman, oh, heroes, Wonder Woman being heroic, but then you punch a hole in
but
the
the
chest,
thing is-
you just give up. Punch a hole in Superman, you
But the
just
thing
give up.
is, if you can never actually lose, then having hope is pointless because you'll win anyway.
Well, that's
It's because he only wins. The anime characters only win because they have hope forever.
Yeah.
And they even when they've lost, they're like, but I have to still believe. And they're like, why would you believe if you can't
But
win?
just like
this guy has beaten
why?
everyone before him. He's way above everyone's power level. But because Ichigo has hope, he
I'm
wins.
getting like Ultimates 2 flashbacks where me and Ryan are like, this just seems really dumb. And you guys are like, no, it's awesome. They're all exploding and fighting all these spaceships and stuff. I'm like, but what happened to American interventionism?
I just find it funny that Ryan's the cynic in this scenario.
Yeah.
If you have a hole in your chest,
American
you gotta die.
interventionism truly is the hole in all of our hearts. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, so I agree with you there where it's like, but I think this chapter is interesting because all the other times it's like he just like gets up or he's like it's close to dying, and here it's like he gets killed and then like Ukiorra just throws his body down like it's nothing, and Ichigo's not like saying anything. It's just like eyes are open and that's it. And he even tells Orihime where he's like, you can't bring him back to life because his wound's too extensive.
The thing that I like about this scene is when Ichigo collapses and Orihime runs over, she's just like, I thought he would be okay. I thought he could win. I let him out of my sight because I had faith in him. Like her whole speech about like, he'll be fine. And then she just has like a panic attack and she just like is standing next to his body, just yelling, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Like over and over again. And like that is really cool to me because the reason why I think it's dumb is because as the reader, I know he's not dead because this is an anime. It's gonna go on forever. He's gonna get up. But like this moment felt very real.
Yes.
And I was like, and for just a second, I let myself think, what if he is dead? And then I was like, that's dumb. Of
because
course
you get
he's
to
not
see it
dead.
reflected in like someone else, whereas like most of the other fights
Yes.
that we've seen have just been like the one-on-one, and then it's like Ichigo like falls to Kenpachi, but then he like gets back up, whereas here you actually get someone else reacting to like, wow, like I think this person's like dead, like how Momo
looks
got
dead.
killed off in the previous part.
Yeah.
You're like,
this is a part in every single like anime movie where it looks like the main hero dies saving the world, and they have a character like, you can't be dead. See a lot of
Yeah.
Pixar movies like this
Yeah.
is that movie.
Yeah.
This is that moment.
Yeah.
And but just
And I'm a sucker for that like every time.
but I'm the opposite. I'm like he's gonna come back and scene over with.
I think I also was buying into it. I feel like Sly's just like, he wants to get all the sentimentality out of the way, and he just wants to get into like big fist fights between characters. And I like seeing like what would Orihime's reaction be to seeing him die.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like this.
because it's me and Darryl. I think with our taste, we're just like holding on to any bit of emotional resonance, and like it's always Orihime in this whole arc. It's been Orihime the whole time. That's why I'm like still a really big fan of this character, because it's like I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. But then I'm like, but she's having this real reaction. And you guys are like, no, pick up that sword, go cut up this goth guy.
Phil, what about you?
I liked the Orihime scene a lot, and I liked how distraught she looks, and I liked how the Quincy was like trying to help when he's so outclassed. You see him just shoot a beam at UIquiorra, and his wing just bounces it away.
Yeah, and UIquiorra even says to him, it's like, I thought you were supposed to be like the calm one. I like, why are you fighting me? You know you can't win.
And he cuts out the Quincy's arm.
Yeah, and Orihime's just screaming over his body, like they said, having a panic attack. I enjoyed this a lot.
I do like to see it too, but they always like when you guys are saying maybe it's for real. I'm always like, they're gonna milk it as much as they can, just like they do in Pixar movies. They milk it as far as possible before, like they're never actually gonna kill him off. They're just gonna milk that motion from it.
It's
And
just like this whole chapter is just about that.
That's why I said I only let myself believe it for just that fraction of a second.
That Brian's like, I didn't cry as he wipes away his tears.
I mean, I definitely didn't cry. That's for damn
Sure, Brian.
So what happens, like I was saying, is you're just like, one of the things I was wondering is like, how does he come back from that? If UIquiorra is even like, you can't heal his wounds and stuff. Orihime just yells, "Help me, Kurosaki," that's his last name, really loud. And then Ichigo gets long hair and then just kind of comes back to life as a hollow.
I have a sincere point and then a really weird question. So she says, you hear his internal monologue. I can hear her. She's calling me. Stand up. I will protect her. And like her screams, or he's like, I have to do what's right for her. But I have a question. The final page before he like gets up, she's like on her knees, like looking towards the body.
I wondered the same thing.
No, it's her dress. It's just
looks,
style of her dress.
It looks the style of her dress.
Too.
So the style of her dress really makes it look like there's a hole in her pants and just her butt crack is out.
Yeah, her ass crack just poking out.
And this is the thing, is I was like, oh, it's like he has to protect her. That's what's bringing him back from the dead. She said to her, and I'm like, this is the kind of thing that I really like. And then it's like, but look at her butt crack though. And I'm like,
ass.
what's
He's
going
like,
on?
You're like, I will protect that ass. I
And
understand.
even if it is like a pattern of her dress, it is definitely drawn so you think
Yes,
it's her
it
butt
has
crack.
to be.
There
Like,
is no.
that is so like, it is black and white. He drew in black and white. He knew how it looks like.
No.
Looks like her ass.
Yeah.
I think he just like, he defined the buttocks there, whereas like it doesn't look like pants. It looks like, like too tight spandex.
It looks like a hole in her pants.
No, it looks like it's like a porn outfit. Like it's.
You know what? I'm not
Yeah.
going to defend Kubo because her outfit in the final arc specifically has a boob window, and they even comment on it. They're like, "Wow, great boob window."
I will say the next short title page of like every time he was criming, I always like how organic the art looks. It doesn't look like visual tears in anime. It looks very organic.
Overall, I like his art a lot. It's just there's a couple choices like this that I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
So-
But then like Darryl said, he wakes up as like this big.
He looks like
demon
he looks like
looking
like an actual demon, and so I guess the idea is like he has like a hollow self, not just a hollow mask form, but he has like himself as a hollow. And if you guys remember, dear listeners, how the hollows have a hole in their heart always,
Yes.
Like, so now in his hollow form, he has that hole, that his wound, but it's like, I guess hollows just have that anyway, so it's like...
Yeah, he's like, boom,
Okay.
you made me a hollow, I guess.
Yeah. And he looks like he has a mask on, a creepier mask than his last one. And
It's got like big horns, his hair grows out really long.
And it's, this is like just traditional shonen shit here, where it's just like, they keep upping the power level tiers, where it's like, he went to Super Saiyan 2, and now Ichigo just skips and goes to Super Saiyan 3.
I'd say it's like Ichigo's Super Saiyan 2, because I think it's supposed to be. Here's what's difficult.
No, but he outclasses him so much.
He does, but I think that's just because Ichigo is so powerful. Because this is gonna be like a thing throughout like the whole series. It's just like if Ichigo gets to that power level, he just outclasses everyone else that he's with.
He loses his mind. He doesn't talk here. He just screams. So he's more like Hollow. Like, yeah, what was cool is he actually reminds me of the Hollows from the first arc, where he's just yelling and attacking. He's not like, and he's yelling like all the time.
Yeah, he's just screaming
and just killing. And he in his horns, in between his horns, he has like a laser or something.
Yeah, so he fires like big laser that like cuts out really far, and he's just blowing up a whole bunch of stuff. And this is how this fight goes on for a while. I cut it after like he cut off Ukiyora's arm.
He has like the cut.
He has the Sero of the Espada.
Yeah.
So what happens is he does like all this cool shit, and ends over here saying, "Is that really Kurosaki?" And then it just cuts to Darryl saying, "Ichigo then just kills this guy," and then goes back to normal.
Yeah, because this fight goes on for a while, and then you have Ukiyorra being like, "Oh, I didn't think I'd have to use this," and he has javelins that are like world blowing up javelins they can just like throw all the time, and Ichigo just like swats them away and stuff and takes it. Then he beats up Ukiyorra a whole bunch, and then at some point. Man, I should have really reread this. His mask just like disappears, and he like returns to normal, and his like wound closes up or something. And then he says to like Ukiyorra, it's like, all right, now it does the same thing with Byakuya, where he's like, sorry about that. Like now our fight can begin in earnest. And then Ukiyorra goes to fight him, and they went, actually, you have wounded me so much, I'm literally just evaporating, and he just disappears. With like a final scene of like Orihime reaching out to Ukiyorra since she doesn't want him to die, and as he's reaching out to her, he's like, oh, finally, I understand. The heart, and that the heart just takes up a single page. It's just all white background. It just says the heart on it. And Kubo is always made fun of for this. You can type in like Kubo the heart, and it's just like constant people making fun of, because it's like it's him not doing the art, and it's just like, I'll just have a full page that says the heart, and that's what you get this week. And so
Cool.
We're all looking it up, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Know Your Meme page is titled Kubo Troll.
yeah.
You gotta fucking reach that page count.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so that's what happens to Ukiyorra. He disappears. He's dead. And then Ichigo's like, oh, I gotta go back. And
apparently, he's everyone tells Ichigo he's the only one that could beat Aizen because he's the only one that wasn't hit by Aizen's illusion powers.
yes. So if you remember Aizen, his sword, when he shows it to you, you can instantly be under his illusion powers as long as you see it. And so because Ichigo hasn't seen his sword's power go off, he is immune to that ability. So he cannot be fooled by illusions.
I think that's why I don't get as mad as this stuff as I probably should. I thought that was bullshit in part 2 already. Part 2 already hit peak bullshit in so many ways for me that I'm like, I accept it. So I'm like, I don't see how you can like part 2 and not accept everything after it.
The Soul Society stuff, you thought that was bullshit, and
when the Aizen being like, once you see my sword, you're always losing forever. I'm like, that's such a bullshit power. I don't think anything past that point made me felt less more like less. Nothing past that point felt like more bullshit than my sword makes you permanently fucking illusioned.
Really,
I see.
I think that's like it's strong, but it's like you have to keikaku the whole.
No,
thing.
but it means like when Darryl was like saying it was teasing your bullshit, I was expecting a bunch of fake outs where everyone thinks they beat Aizen, he stops it, and I'm like, that's what I thought Volume 2 was gonna be on. I thought it was just gonna be people fighting Aizen, and then he just keeps making it not illusion. That would have been I would have been like, this is a trash book if that was the case. But the fact that it's all these other fights, I think I like.
There's actually a really funny moment that I wanted to include in here, but again, it's just so many pages. Gin talks about Aizen when he's like fighting other people, where he's like, it's this power, the illusion power is not what you should be afraid of. You should be afraid of him because he is the best fighter in this whole universe. And like he will just find a way to kill you.
And I like that better because I love illusion powers. Mysterio's my favorite Spider-Man villain. Mastermind's my favorite X-Men villain. But I like illusion powers when you put some thought into it. I don't like I just make you see what I want to see forever, and every fight from now on can be bullshit. Like, you have to put some thought into writing it. I like the fact that Aizen just becomes a stereotypical villain after this point, basically, for the most part.
And Ichigo goes, he doesn't turn to that hollow form again. This is, again, another reason why it's like the series just gets worse and worse. That hollow form that he specifically goes into, it does not receive an explanation for, like, what happened there, how he turned into it, and how he, like, became basically an Arankar. And nor does it ever come up again. That is the last time you see it in the series. Yes.
That is really shitty.
Which is really bizarre, because you have multiple points where, like, Ichigo needs to get stronger. Whatever happened to him, like, becoming, like, an
It's a cool design, too.
Yeah, and it just, nothing happens. It just never gets, it doesn't even get talked about. There's not a person that goes, so what was up with that? Like, the Quincy's, like, what happened there? They're just like, yeah, that's fine.
That is huge oversight.
The only do in Orihime was that's sad that she thought he was dead. That's
Maybe.
she unlocks power.
It'd be if that's the case, they could say that.
They could at least acknowledge that.
we still get some more despair later on that, like, it seems like that would be a good time for him to hollowify, but he doesn't.
Stuff like that. Like that's the same thing with he powers up in the middle of fight. Stuff like that. I view as Shonen. They have to do to keep the fights interesting, because every time he would just do it every time, just like he always bankais every time to start the fight. It's just funny that they never acknowledge it ever again.
Yeah.
But, like, if his fake out death established this, like, new, like, way he would lose control over everything,
it's like
even though it's bullshit, it would still, like, advance his power set, or, like, still have some sort of stakes, even if they're not a permanent death.
You think about the Byakuya fight, how he put on the mask, and then afterwards, after that arc ended, that he was afraid of fighting again because he put on that mask. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Whereas here, it's just like,
that is fucking hilarious. That
Especially because it sets it up so nicely for him to maybe use it against Aizen, and he does not.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought, like Phil said, it's gonna be Super Saiyan 2. Like, that's his new level.
That is crazy. That is actually crazy to me, to unlock a new power tier in a shonen and be like, oops, not doing that.
No, it doesn't exist. Don't worry.
That's like Piccolo fusing of Nail and then never bringing it up ever again.
Yeah,
I've always been this guy.
So Ichigo, he's brought through the gate, like a temporary, like, teleport over to where Aizen is, and he's, like, teleported directly behind Aizen.
Definitely personnel kid.
Yeah, and we have, like, these cool, like, two page splash pages of him just, like, slamming Aizen with his sword, and big, like, again, more of Kubo's just, like, black streaks all over the place.
Okay, we probably covered this and I just forgot, but there's, like, a bunch of reaction shots, and one of them's just, like, a dog. Who is that?
He's a captain.
Okay, that's Komamura. I wish I could show you more of his arc. He's actually the only, like, interesting storyline in Bleach, whereas, like, the Orihime stuff I think is emotionally resonant. He has, like, if you remember, Aizen has the blind captain with him.
Okay, yeah.
So the blind captain and Komamura, this dog man, they were best friends, and it's because the blind guy, he never judged him for being an animal man or a furry. And the blind guy was all about justice, and so he joined Aizen, and since then the dog man has always, like, he's felt like this unquenched, like, anger at his friend. It's like, how could you do this? How could you join them? It's like if Sly went and joined, like, Trump or became a Republican. It's like, how could you, Sly? We trusted you. And
you never judged me for being a dog man.
Yeah.
This is a big moment for me, because I finally know what it's like for you two. And I've never felt closer when I ask a question like, who's this? And then they answer, I'm like, that sounds dumb as hell.
Yeah, the answer's
I like
actually, he's the best character in this arc.
It's one of those things that I understand that if I read that, I know I would like that a lot. But it's just like, actually, that surprise dog is a fascinating character that I love a lot. Like, that's so what it's like for you guys.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I know he looks dumb, because when I first saw him, I'm like, this guy looks dumb. And then when you see his arc, it's like, it was the only thing I was paying attention to, because, again, when I first experienced Bleach, I was mainly, like, having the anime on, and at this point, I was checked out, other than, like, that Ichigo UIquiorra fight. Which, fun fact, was the first thing I ever saw of Bleach, as I watched that fight.
I would say, from on my perspective, the Jedi Evo. No, from my perspective, because they have the Doctor Mengele guy too. They have all these characters with weird designs, like, and you have the hollows and all these concepts. I don't find it that dumb to have a dog, man. Like, naturally, so I was like, oh, one of them looks like a dog, whatever.
Yeah. So Ichigo jumps through the portal. He slashes at Aizen's back, And like he does a massive attack, but it doesn't seem to do anything. And then Aizen says, "It's been a long time, little Ryoka boy." And Ichigo's like, "What? He blocked it." And then he shows Aizen had like a shield behind the
A tiny little shield just blocking his neck.
Just have to say, editorial note, Ryuka means invader.
Yeah, just heads up. And he says, like, the back of the neck is the living being's worst blind spot. Did you really think I'd be fighting without any sort of protection? And then Ichigo's like, oh shit, I should have attacked in hollow form. And it's like, well, duh. Like, why? God, he's so dumb.
wouldn't you?
And you say you always bitch that he goes Bankai immediately. You see, he should always just start a fight Bankai, hollow, demon form.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, but every anime fucking hero doesn't do that. They never start fucking.
Yeah.
In the final
It is
form.
crazy too because they're like he's the strongest guy in the universe, and he's like, maybe I can take him.
Maybe it was on a high after being Ukiora. He's like, I got this. And so
Yeah, maybe he was on a high after the fight that literally killed him.
yeah, he puts. That's a good point too. Fuck Ichigo, what an idiot. So he puts on the mask, and then he goes, "Gets a good tencho." Like that's gonna do anything. He shoots his big blade. Aizen just teleports behind him, and he's like,
Nothing personnel kid.
yeah, nothing personal. And Ichigo's flying away from me. He's like, "Why are you putting so much distance between us? Like, if you really wanted to hit me, you'd stay at close range. Is it because you're afraid of me?" And then he just instantly teleports over to him, and he's like, "Hey, look how quickly I could rip your heart out," as he's like touching against Ichigo's chest. And he tries to swipe at him again, then Aizen teleports behind him again.
He's like over so over the top anime fast where like no matter what you do, he's always just behind you just talking shit.
Yeah, every panel it's just like him in another place because he doesn't even need to be drawn teleporting. He's just in another place.
And he's just always like, yeah, you're pathetic.
Yeah. So he's shit talking him about like how he can't fight without hate, and then the dog man comes over and stops him. He's like, you can't let him get to you. Him provoking you is his specialty. He wants to get pissed off so he can kill you. So don't worry. We'll take over. And then you get 2 pages of 3 of the captains that are remaining. And then a whole bunch of, these are the visors. Any character you don't recognize is the visor. They're the people that can also use hollow masks. And they come in and they're like, we're going to get this. And it's an unbeatable fighting force.
That's what it says.
And then
unbeatable.
Darryl says, Guess what happens to this unbeatable fighting force?
And then it says scattered like leaves on the wind. And it just shows them all dying.
It's Aizen using their own weapons against them and just beating the shit out of them. And that was one chapter he just beats pretty much them all.
This big splash page is so funny to me, and the page leading up to it, because all these shots of the dog guy have just been his face. So I thought it was a dog, but it's a whole man that just has a dog's face
it's a
for a
samurai,
face.
like looking dog.
And Darryl said, "Oh, you know the captains never win." Then it shows like all the captains getting to ask about Aizen.
It's different because Aizen has already proven himself that he can beat them, and I wouldn't consider this filler because you're like, this is great. All of them are finally fighting at once against the strongest guy, and then he just beats them.
It is crazy. Like it is crazy that they established that these guys are better than the Espada, but like all of them together are just still shit.
Well, technically, one Vestrode is stronger than a captain or some garbage.
Well, that's why Aizen kills some captains, because he's like, wow, you guys we had all that power level talk, and you still lost. Fuck you, and you killed him.
It is crazy that Aizen didn't just like do all this himself.
Which is another really funny thing when you think about how powerful Aizen is. It's like all of his plans and keikakus don't make any sense, especially when everyone's already under illusion powers. It's like I needed to stage this whole thing to like capture Rukia and like execute her in this, and it's like you could just like find another way to do it, or like make everyone not see it as it's going on as you're executing.
Or just kill everyone. You're so strong.
That's always a problem with most. If you ever seen a long running story arc, I will struggle to name one that has a really actually smart master plan that goes on for multiple years. It's usually dumb. Like that's
Full Metal Alchemist.
Well, now, there's a master plan.
Don't spoil. I still haven't seen it.
Okay. But like Battlestar Galactica, the master plan, if you actually lay it out like Darryl is doing with this plan, it's fucking stupid. But like it's like most things that go on for years, they have to thread the needle between keeping things going with mystery boxes to keep you excited, and keeping the final boss from just killing the heroes, and usually doesn't make sense when you put it all together.
To specify, I do firmly believe that Fullmetal Alchemist does that, does the good parts, but I can't think of a second one. So your point certainly stands.
Yeah. It's especially difficult when you're raising a villain like this, where they are this strong. It's like, why would they not just kill everyone? But actually, Aizen does say to the old man, which we're going to get to, the old man, the head of the captains and stuff, that he's like, you could probably beat me. And that guy actually does have some powers that are really ridiculous that we'll see later.
Okay, so maybe it is one of those things that this, even though he probably could win against most of these people, it's like all of them together plus the really strongest guys might.
Yeah,
it's easier to just.
It's always hard with Aizen because his power levels. It's like it's until the end of. Even at the end of the series, you're like, I still have no idea like who could win in a fight against him, or like how many people could possibly beat him. So the rest of this chapter that I've included has a bunch of people fighting back against them, and he brings up how the Vizards are mere imitations of a Rancor, which that was another thing that they did. I forgot to like mention too, is that there's a whole like 8-chapter event that goes back into the past, and they're like, this is what Aizen was doing as a captain, and it shows that all the other Vizards that were introduced here used to be captains until Aizen did an experiment on them that turned them into like the half hollows that lost their mind and stuff, and then they got booted out from Soul Society, which again makes this arc feel like it goes on forever because you have 2 months of just let me tell you some backstory of like back when Aizen was Otacon and wearing glasses and stuff.
So there's one part of the fight now where they're fighting and getting their asses kicked, but a few of them start to get an upper hand on Aizen, and one of them,
I have to go through just a little bit of this because this is actually one of the smartest things in this entire arc, because this is the thing that like Sly and you guys would appreciate is none of you guys, like, you only know Little Boy that he makes ice and stuff, but this is all of the captains or all these people actually using their powers in smart ways to stop him. It makes a lot of sense. Where it's like, first he fights against Soifan, who can make multiple clones of herself to distract him. And so he goes to attack her with his sword, and then his hand with the sword is frozen in ice. And he looks back and it's Little Boy Captain that froze it. And then this girl, Soifan's Shikai, her special ability is that if she touches you like once, it makes a mark on you, and she touches you again, it kills you instantly in that same spot. Which is like, okay, like you have to avoid it. So she tries to hit him twice, but then he's like, check it. Like, I just grabbed your hand with my other hand and you couldn't do anything. And then like you have this, I feel like I'm just like rambling on because I'm like, because the ice is making a shadow. This guy's special ability is his swords can appear in shadows. So then it stabs Aizen, and then Little Boy Captain flies over to hit him, and Aizen's like, I got you now. But then the Vizard over here, as long as he's spinning his sword, it flips all of your perception so that left is right and up is down. So he thinks Little Boy Captain's ahead of him, but he's actually behind him the whole time, and he stabs him. And it's an amazing, like, everything worked out.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest, like, sequential events in a fight that I've seen this whole time.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, I can't think of any other fight in Bleach off the top of my head that every power comes into play together like this.
And also, it kind of takes the shonen trope of, like, it seems like they're going one at a time, but really they're just setting each other up.
Yeah.
And still all fighting simultaneously. It's really cool.
It is really cool.
But, of course, this is, like, 2 pages, and other fights where shit's not as cool are, like, 50 pages.
Yeah. And then we get another poll that I included in here about like the best fights in everything in Bleach, because this was also me trying to show you guys. It's like I really am trying to show you the best. Where it's like tied for third is the Renji versus Ichigo fight, and the Grimmjow versus Ichigo, and second is Ichigo versus UIquiorra, and then first is Ichigo versus Byakuya.
They were good fights.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
So then it looks like, he stabbed through Aizen's heart, Little Boy Captain. It's like, wow, they did it. They beat him. And even the other like captains or like the assistant captains are like, this is great. Like, we should be like cheering and having fun. And even like one of the Vizards looks at Guinea and is like, what are you still doing here? Like, you should be out of here. And then this is a beautiful moment.
This is just so fun.
Ichigo comes out and says, what the hell are you guys doing, you monsters?
Yeah, and then there's a full page and it shows Momo, poor little Momo. She's the one that Little Boy Captain is stabbing through. That all of them attacked and did this too.
And they were so proud of their combo, and it was on Momo.
Yeah. That's what I would go in Darryl's side and be like, this whole fucking thing is stupid. Because they knew this whole entire time as possible. That's what happened, and I'm like, I thought that was the point of them saying, "Ichigo, you have to do this." I thought that would be
they don't know the extent of his abilities though, because like,
but like when he says like complete perfect hypnotism, you have to expect this is in the cards. Like nothing you can see.
But this is when he exposits.
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. They didn't know this, but they ask, "Why? When the hell did you start using that?" And he says, "Then allow me to ask you something. When exactly did it appear to you as if I wasn't using it?" They didn't know that he was this powerful.
Because all the other powers, it's like with a lot of them, you have to like say the name of the power, then it turns on. But with him, it's like he can just use it whenever he pleases. That he can like fool you into believing that it's like this isn't what you think it is.
But he said when he did it, like, I can make you think whatever I want whenever I want to.
Or see whatever you want. He can't make you think whatever you want.
Well, yeah, see whatever you... That's, like... I like, in terms of, like, hero strategy, like, I thought the point would be, like, now Ichigo's the only one that can fight him. But no, they still try to fight themselves, and obviously shit goes bad for them.
It is a little dumb that they have, like, they all are like, we're under this spell, but we'll try and fight him. And they obviously can't. But it's like, it's kind of like on the opposite side, though, is do you never fight an illusionist because you don't know what's an illusion? Like, you're like, I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to sit down.
I know, but it seems like the reason why I counter that is because it sounded like they had a strategy with sending Ichigo in, and then they reneged on it for no reason.
But he was getting his ass kicked. Not no reason. He could not compete.
He was losing his cool, not just getting his ass kicked, because Aizen was even, like, fighting him.
That's true.
And so you have this moment, and Momo dies in Little Boy Captain's arms.
He screams, ah!
And then he flies
like
at Aizen, and all the other captains are freaking out. They're like, wait, because they're trying to stop him. And then Aizen says, you're all full of openings. And it's just a page of just all of them getting cut down. And
at the same time, like, they're all falling, and Little Boy Captain's ice wings are just cut in half. Like, it's very brutal. Yeah.
So, fun fact, I hope you guys hate this as much as I do. Momo is not dead, and she doesn't die here.
This is worse than Western comics, where they die at least for like a few months until they're like, actually, that was their clone.
Because they at least die.
Yeah, at least fucking kill them.
And even worse, Momo does nothing in the last two arcs. She's just like around. It's like, look, it's Momo, and then that's it.
So I haven't had that much. I'm not a shonen expert. How common? Because I know Dragon Ball does this all the time. Characters never fucking die.
They never kill people.
Yes, that's why. That's what
Rarely. I'd say there's some, but they make like a big deal when it happens. They're like, this character is dead.
It's so fucking rare.
I feel like Bleach is the only one that I've never seen even when you have a sad character death, it's just like they're still alive.
Well, UIquiorra.
The UIquiorra, that's true. He is actually dead.
Like,
actually, a lot of the villains in Bleach do just die, and then that's it for them.
Yeah, I was say most of the villains seem to have died permanently.
But maybe not good guys ever.
Yeah, which is like, especially, like, I feel like the first Momo twist, like, that was a good point for her to die, and this is why I was okay with her coming back, because it seems, like, dumb that she comes back to life. And she even has, like, an interesting thing that when she comes back, she doesn't believe Aizen's bad. She still thinks that he's, like, doing this for, like, a good reason, that he's fooling everybody. And so it's, like, she has, like, PTSD from being killed by him, and I feel like this is such a good closer to her sad arc, but she's kept around for no reason.
I have the opposite opinion. That it feels like how he recycles the same characters with Renji and all these other characters. Mm-hmm. Seems like he banked all this good character work for Momo, and he spent it with that first time Aizen backstabs her, and then he's like, "I'll just bank it again." like he didn't want to, like he didn't want to have to go through another character having an inappropriate death in this scenario.
But it's hard because, like, she's such especially because she's a fan favorite, it is a good way to just, like, jab at the reader. It's like, check this out, Momo's dead again.
I wish she died so badly here.
Me too.
I wish she died. Like, fuck.
I mean, it's just like, it's like, deaths need to feel like there's impact, and it's one of the big flaws in, like, a lot of shonen.
It's a big flaw in fiction. Heroes never die in most fiction in a lot of cases.
Yeah, but they also don't pretend to die.
No, they pretend to die. That's not true, Ryan. You know that's not fucking true. You read American comics. You know that's not fucking true.
No, but it's dumb when that happens.
I know. I'm just saying it's a product with
Robin. No.
Yeah, it's a problem with modern people don't want to lose their favorite characters.
Yeah, it's a problem with like fans in general, like kind of dictating what you do with the characters. Anyway,
yeah, that's very true.
So this is when Aizen, this is when the captain, this is so dumb too, that the head of the Soul Society, Captain Yamamoto, is watching his captains get killed, and he's like, okay, I guess I gotta fight. Even though, like, I'm the strongest, like, I just wanted to see if, like, my subordinates could do it. And so he goes into fight.
It's called delegating, Darryl.
Yeah, it's
I also think it makes sense, because if he was to, like again, because I'm thinking about the helplessism stuff, I would expect the twist would be like he kills all his men by thinking he killed Aizen. It'll be like the Wolverine Old Man Logan twist, where like that's what I would expect.
Yeah. So he goes in and he decides to fight against
Oh my
Aizen.
God, I forgot about that.
He decides to fight against Aizen, and Aizen this whole time has been raising this like dumb child that can only go like if you watch the anime, that's all he does. And he put him inside like this giant like mech body now, and they fight forever. And this guy's whole ability is he absorbs all this power that this old man like shoots at him, and then he just suicide bombs himself.
Wow. Okay.
And the old man's like he could teleport away and stuff, but the fact that all the subordinates are on the ground incapacitated means that they blow up the city, so he has to absorb his own power they put into it. That character's just awful. Goodbye, Wonder Weiss.
Okay, Nello and this fucking thing lead me more towards your point, Darryl.
And then after that happens, then Aizen goes into where he just starts talking to Ichigo, and he starts explaining. It's like, let me explain to you my master plan and how long this has been going on and how long I've known about you. And he says, I've known about you since you were born. He says, and everything's been going according to his plan about like hat and clogs from the Hogyoku, that MacGuffin that Aizen has that turns hollows into Shinigami and stuff. He's like, I've been preparing for this for so long. I was reading about this and this and that. And it's just one of those where it's like everything's been going according to my keikaku. And Ichigo gets like so shaken, and then Ichigo's dad appears,
I just want to say, I don't know if we've defined what keikaku means.
Oh.
Plan. Keikaku means plan. You gotta.
It means plan.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows.
But
That's why they have to translate his notes. Keikaku means plan for people who don't know.
If you're like 5 episodes into Bleach, I feel like you'd experience.
Yeah,
that
you have
from
to know Keikaku means plan.
Okay, but maybe not.
If not, it's my keikaku that you learn about it here. So I've been planning this the whole time. That you would listen 5 episodes in and be like, "What is this?" and then learn.
And so as this is going on, then you have like Ichigo's dad shows up and he's like, I've been a Shinigami the whole time, and I've had to keep this from you. And then he gives him a pep talk of like, you gotta do this, you're the only one that can do it. And then Ichigo's dad fights Aizen.
Wow, I wish I could have seen that. I can't even fucking imagine that. His dad from part 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
so oh my god, this is a side tangent, but his dad, at the very beginning of this arc, his dad's revealed to be a Shinigami. And do you know how it's revealed to be a Shinigami? He kills Grand Fisher, the hollow that killed Ichigo's mom, because Ichigo never killed that hollow. It escaped before Ichigo could finish it, and then it was like teased that it was turning into a human form later, which is I guess like the Arankars and stuff. But then Ichigo's dad shows up and he kills him in one swipe. He doesn't know that it killed his mom, and he's like, boom, I'm a hollow again, baby. And that's the only fight his dad does in the entire series.
I hate that shit. I hate that shit in American comics. I talk about this with Ryan all the time.
Yeah.
I hate everyone surrounding like the main character has to have superpowers if they ever keep.
On top of that,
plot.
I feel like you could have superpowers, but you have to do something interesting with the story. All Ichigo's dad does is kill a villain that was pre-established against Ichigo that Ichigo has like an emotional connection to. He just kills him off because I guess Kubo was done drawing Grand Fisher.
Yeah, but it's also dumb that Grant Fisher didn't die with Ichigo's fight. Like that seemed like a natural.
Well, I think it's the way it's done. It's like when he like escapes, you're like, oh, this is cool because now this is like the first like reoccurring villain that can occur in the series. Even though it would have made more sense for him to die.
Why was he bitching about not seeing ghosts in part 1? It was all Keikaku.
So no, it's complicated. So he gets his own powers. I forget. There's something that happens in the world event that give him his Shinigami powers back, which the final arc explains he had to give up for a reason. Because before you're just like, he lost them how? And then it's not revealed until, 5 years later. It's like, actually, this is why I lost my powers.
So what? So why are Orihime and Chad? Why do they have powers?
Oh my god. I'm trying to think about when to explain this. Because, basically, we're jumping ahead, and it's Aizen is basically going to be fighting Hat and Clogs. Hat and Clogs is super late to this party, but he's shown up to fight him, and he points out that Aizen has the Hogyoku, the MacGuffin that can turn hollows into Shinigami
I don't
into
think we've
hollows.
defined what a MacGuffin is.
That's true too.
I think MacGuffin is more of a commonly used trope.
I knew keikaku way before MacGuffin.
I didn't know MacGuffin until recently when I started going like on TV tropes.
Well, you guys are fucking weebs, so whatever.
So MacGuffin's just a plot device that's there just to be like, we have to get this for reasons. And so
basically, it could be anything. Doesn't really fucking matter. Like the only thing to do with it is just there to be a plot thing.
People are like, we need this. Yeah. We just need this. And so Aizen has formed with the Hogyoku. He has put it in his chest. It is now a part of him. And the Hogyoku, at first you're like, oh, just, it breaks down the barriers between Shinigami and Halls. No, the Hogyoku grants wishes. That's its secret power. And
Dragon Balls!
So it was originally put in Rukia, and because Chad and Orihime didn't want to be like punk-ass humans that had no powers, it granted them the ability to use their own special powers. So Chad got his big fist, and Orihime has her denial ability. And that's why.
The Hogyoku, it has infinite wishes?
I don't know. It's like, this is so
well, theoretically, anytime you can get a wish, you can get infinite wishes, because you can always wish for more infinite wishes.
Or it's not wishes.
Whoa, slide. No one's ever brought up that
No, I
idea.
think all wish things have that as like a clause.
Okay,
like,
wait.
Well, now they do, because everyone thought of it, but not in the past. In the past, like, the genie's lamp didn't have that fucking clause, Phil.
It's not like a wish granter. It grants your inner desire. So it's like whatever you desire the most. So Aizen desires to be pretty much become like the god of this world. So it's slowly transforming him into like the god of this world.
Oh, okay, that's a much cooler power than grant wishes.
It can be, but the thing is, this is just like brought up, and then you're like, but why were they trying to make this in the first place? Like, all this stuff is like very vague and loosey-goosey, and basically the Hogyoku can do whatever the hell it wants, is kind of the thing.
It's a MacGuffin.
So dumb. But I like the idea before it was like grounded in reality, where it's like you would want to find a way to maybe return, hollows back into humans or back into like normal souls. Whereas here it's like it just will grant the deepest desire you have, like a magic lamp.
Well, at this point, at the parallel they're at, a magic wishmaker is the only thing that could really up the stakes, probably.
That is true. So Hat and Clog sees this, and as the original crafter, actually Aizen had his own Hogyoku that he was making, and he combined it with Hat and Clog's Hogyoku, so it combined into a massive one. And Hat and Clog's is like, oh man,
He says you have a really extraordinary form, and he said and Aizen says this is nothing. Midway through evolution is always ugly, and Hat and Clog says nobody said that you were ugly. It's just that you had finally fused with the Hogyoku, and Aizen says, please use the word subdue.
Yeah.
This isn't a fusion.
Yeah, this is the Hogyoku you failed to master. It has just found its new master. And then Aizen teleports over to him and kills Hat and Clogs. But then Hat and Clogs, that was a dummy, which, again, kudos to Bleach. It did establish that that Hat and Clogs does use a dummy when he fights. But it's still like one of those, you got me. No, you didn't. So then he teleports behind him and then seals Aizen with the same stuff that Rukia was sealed with before, where she couldn't move.
6 rods, light prison. Riku, Gyo, Koru.
Yeah, and then he just uses this is 4 pages of him just using different keto magic on him to blast him and stuff.
What I really liked about the magic that I didn't realize they did for the higher level spells, you have to chant a poem, it's like I forgot magic used to be like that in old fiction, where it's like you have to say the words. It's not just I just cast fire.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that the high level spells they have to say stuff.
Yeah,
because he literally just keeps layering spell on spell on spell on this guy.
Yeah,
just the term you're looking for is verbal component.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it. So he blows up Aizen, but then Aizen teleports behind him, and he's like, surprise, I'm now even stronger than you, and stuff, because he's slowly transforming. His white suit is slowly forming over his body and stuff. And then as he hits Hat and Clogs is like, actually, surprise, I planned for you to do this, and now I'm sealing your wrists. Now that you're so confident that you're so strong, I've sealed your wrists with magic blocking bracelets that now when you try and expel your magic like you're trying to do now, it'll just blow you up, and then he blows up.
And Darryl's note, of course, Aizen survives.
Yeah.
Just in chapters.
And so I include this chapter because this is what a lot of the fights are becoming against Aizen, where someone teleports behind Aizen, stabs him, and kills him. They're like, boom, got him. And then Aizen teleports behind them, and he's like, boom, got him. And it just keeps going on like this to where you're just like, I just don't care. I know.
Yeah, I was at this point, I was like, come on, guys. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, because then Cat Lady joins in, and then she's fighting him with Aizen and Hat and Clogs, and they're all just fighting each other. It's like, boom, got him. Hat and Clog says, this was my plan for you to escape being blown up by your own magical energy. And it's like, come on, how many layers are you thinking deep ahead?
Yeah.
This is how I feel.
Don't you defend this.
This is how I feel reading most Shonen, though, where
Good.
it's just arbitrary when the fight ends.
But yeah, this is pretty egregious here, where it's like...
It is.
I enjoyed a lot of Bleach so far, but here I'm like, I can't imagine reading all of this like without it being
And
cut.
especially like Darryl's like, oh, like skipping ahead a little bit, and it'll feel like maybe you miss like a chapter, like as far as like narrative and pacing, but you'll look at the numbers and we'll have skipped 13, 14 chapters, and it's like literally just like he survives and goes to the town. Like that's it.
I think this is why I have the opinions I do, is because I really don't care about the Aizen as that much. So when I remember the smaller fights, and
Yeah.
so like I think ever since the beginning, like I think main fights in most shonen just fucking suck. Like I think I like the moments in between those. So like
Yeah, I feel like you would maybe be a person that like the fake Karakura Town stuff because you like all the unused characters and you like seeing their abilities.
I want the characters that no one likes, and they're not. I like characters in games that aren't good, and I want to be the shittiest piece of shit. But if you call me shit, I hate you.
But if I were to read more of this, because I didn't like this part, I blanked out on too. So
and that's fair because a lot of people actually do blank out around here. Like again, I think a lot of people say it's like Grimjow was the last good fight in the series, and then everything afterwards is just like, all right, Bleach has like gone on too long, and especially like this Aizen stuff goes on for a long time, and you're like, we get it. Like no one can fight him but Ichigo. Ichigo's not doing anything. He fights Gin for a while, and you're like, I don't even know what's going on here. I guess he has to beat Gin, but he doesn't because then Gin and Aizen are like, all right, let's just they break through Fake Karakura Town and they find the real one.
This is one of my favorite scenes of this arc.
Yeah, so they break through Fake Karakura Town, they find the real one, and I this is just exponentially stupid because Aizen's like, okay, you're in the town now where you can kill everyone and form the key, and Sate's like, I'm gonna walk around and I'm just gonna scare people like I'm like a slasher villain and stuff.
Yeah,
so
what
he's
the
walking through,
fuck?
people are like screaming, and he's like, I can find you. Then he teleports in front of you. It's like, I see you, and it's all Ichigo's friends because of course any character has to be related to Ichigo.
This is not the scene I said I liked.
but the scene that Phil does, like, I have to point out the artist Kubo.
Yeah.
He has gotten really fucking lazy. Like this,
Yes.
these pencils are so like
Rough, like,
minimalist.
Yes. Which again, it's really funny that he's gotten lazy here, and he still goes on for this length of arc for like he goes on for like 5 more years after this.
I think he just really loved that paycheck. He's just like a guy keeps going.
Maybe,
It's fucking-
yeah.
I mean, people were still reading it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was still included in Shonen Jump, so.
Yeah, like I can only blame him so much when fucking morons like you guys are still like, gotta read more Bleach.
There's no way I would have read this like monthly or anything. Like it's impossible.
Yeah.
I can barely watch TV weekly because I'm like I can't take the.
Yeah, the fight against Aizen itself is like a year long.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That's why me, the guy who likes old comics. But my favorite ever of most manga is usually the early stuff when you buy a volume and they finish like multiple stories in that volume. Like this part is where I usually clock out generally when it starts when you have to read multiple volumes to get one story arc. I have to know. I thought we were much closer to the end than we actually are. God damn.
Well, part of this fight is this upcoming fight is just like you can skip half of it.
Yeah.
But so they're going through Karakura Town, and like Darryl said, I guess he's just walking around scaring people. And Gin shows up and sees Aizen.
He's actually been following up around this whole time, and then Aizen, like, there's 1 or 2 assistant captains that are still alive, and Aizen says like go kill them, and so Gin does, and like the previous chapter looks like he does kill them, but spoilers, he doesn't.
He comes back and he's like he has that snake's like always that big grin on his face. And
This is why probably why Darryl was like, he's a snake, so he's not just smug because
Yeah.
Jin says, "I'm a snake." Ah.
Yeah.
My skin's cold. I ain't got any feelings. I crawl around looking for prey with the tip of my tongue. Okay, that's pretty literal what snakes do.
And also,
And when I find one, I take a lichen to swallow it whole.
and I just want to know, like, they gave him I don't know if it's translated, but they gave him a southern accent here.
I think it's supposed to be like a rural Japanese guy.
Yeah, so anytime you see like southern accents when you're reading like manga and stuff, it's always a certain Japanese dialect. I don't know specifically which one, but
like Osaka in Azumanga Daioh, they give her a southern accent in the dub, but it's because she's supposed to be like a hick. As far as if you're not like there's parts of Japan that are considered like every country, it's like the dialect there is considered to be like more rural and hicky.
Yeah.
And I think he's supposed to be that too.
Yep.
And so
It's because he was raised in the poor district too, so
That's the I don't know if it's a reveal, but
Or grew up in the poor district.
that's brought up in crucial
coming
to this.
up.
It
Yeah.
was a previous flashback that all established it too, like back in Soul Society arc.
And so Aizen's like, I'm gonna go kill some kids, and Gein's like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll kill them for you. And he's like, and then as Aizen's like, okay, and then as Gein's walking away, he has his back to Aizen, and he shoots out his sword through like under his arm, basically, back at Aizen, and stabs him through the chest with it.
You should note that he touched Aizen's sword beforehand, and then he lets him know it's like you. I knew years ago when you made me assistant captain that the only way to escape from the power is to touch the sword before the activation of the hypnosis, which I believe is the first time this is brought up. So excellent planning, Kubo. This is great. Like,
Well, he does say
foreshadowing.
getting that piece of information out of you took a few decades, so that does seem like a bit of information that isn't really floating around in a lot of places.
Sure, but also if you already having like a flashback to the past, maybe you could
That's
establish
true.
it there.
Yeah,
That's very true.
and he says, everyone in the Goten 13, Gote 13 thought they could kill you, but I know that I'm the only one who's capable of it because I'm not under the hypnosis spell. And then
And he said
of course,
nobody knew that except me.
Yeah, and then of course Aizen's like, I knew you were going to betray, all according to Keikaku. And I was like, God damn, why can't you just be surprised for once?
That's
God.
why I love every time. It's just like, I knew, I kept you around because you were gonna betray me.
Yeah, and it's like, it sucks. It just,
It sucks because but that's an
But-
issue. You know Ichigo, the main character, has to be Aizen, so every scene before that is just going to be these fake outs.
yeah. But it's so then after he stabs him, Aizen's like, you know that long, because if you guys remember from the past episodes, Gein's power for his sword is to make it really, really long. And he's like, you can't kill me with just a long sword. And he's like, that's not my power, you dumbass. I actually had a power I didn't tell you about with my Bankai.
Yeah.
When
It turns into like dust really quickly, and then it contracts. That's how it gets so long. It's because I just make it like that long when it turns into dust. But when it does so, I can leave behind a little shard of it. I left it in your heart, and guess what? It's poison. And you're like, okay.
yeah, so he stabbed him through the heart, left
It's
a
not enough
piece
to
of the
stab him
sword.
through the heart. You have to be like, my Bankai is actually this
Well, because
power.
in the Bleach universe, stabbing someone through the heart is not fatal. So it's
That's
like
true.
it has to be like I
Has
left
to be a
magic
big
poison
hole.
in your heart, and so the poison's gonna make a big hole in your chest, and you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And this is what I've always wanted.
If this guy's been Aizen's lieutenant for decades, he has to know that, like, every time anyone does anything, he's like, I knew it all along. So he has to have a backup plan inside his backup plan.
He also should have killed him in his sleep years ago, but
In a better story, like having knowledge accumulated over years is a benefit. Here, all you need is willpower and heart, and you have to be the main character. And you
And
can win.
my favorite thing too is if Gein's goal, because then it flashes back to like him as a kid that you saw Aizen. This is when Aizen was originally trying to like form hollow stuff, like he was forming like a hollow core. He watches him, and then he thinks back to when he saw like the big boob lady Rangiku, because they were childhood friends and stuff. That she was like starving to death. That because I think she got food stolen by like Aizen's people and stuff. And this is when Gein's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna kill the strongest person in order to keep Rangiku safe, which is like, okay, that's a bit extreme, but sure.
it's a bit extreme. He's like, I'm gonna infiltrate this group for 50
Yeah.
years or something.
Yeah,
and
if
like,
Gein's goal was to kill Aizen, why do you wait until he's fused with the thing that grants wishes?
yeah.
that's what I was just thinking.
He
like,
could
kill
have
him in his
fucking.
sleep.
He could have killed before he did ultimate hypnosis on the fucking council, and it wouldn't like. He was not that
Wait,
strong.
you're right, yeah. Wait, no, he was a captain before that happened.
He was a what?
Maybe his brain.
He's been a
is
captain for
also
like
the-
100 years. What, right?
Maybe Gein's brain is also the size of a snake's brain, and he doesn't think of these.
Maybe his brain's the size of Ichigo's brain.
But either way, it looks like the poison's working because he's disintegrating Aizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gin goes to grab the Hogyoku from his chest. He's like, I got it. Then Aizen like tries to swat him away with whatever like willpower he has left in him. And then Aizen just starts screaming on the ground with the hole in his chest. And Gin's like, he's in an alley hiding. He's like, this is over. It's the end of it. And then a huge pillar of light comes up. Aizen gets these beautiful butterfly wings. And he just teleports. He doesn't teleport to Gin. He teleports the Hogyoku, the thing that Gin just grabbed, into his chest. And he's like, it belongs to me. See, like, I am its master. You stand no chance.
Yeah, that's dumb. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's one of those again. Like, you think you beat me, but actually I beat you.
Yeah, and so
it's really dumb.
Gin goes to like grab it from him, and then Aizen takes off Gin's arm, and then he says, fear is necessary for evolution. The fear that one is about to be destroyed this very moment. Thank you, Gin. Thanks to you, I've transcended both Shinigami and Hollow. And then he kills him.
Yeah, so the idea that, like, you know, he actually evolved because he thought he was actually going to die to Gin's poison.
Yeah.
It's like, he actually made him stronger.
This was his plan. It's like, I need to keep some near me so I can die, and then the fear of evolution will make me evolve into Butterfly Man.
His butterfly form looks like something you would draw in a high school notebook. Like, it is just a white sheet and white butterfly wings.
Yeah, it's not that elaborate. And then Rengiko goes and sees the big boob lady, sees Gin before he dies. And Gin
So
does,
is he dead?
Yes. And so this is what's so weird is who dies and who doesn't is like almost like nonsensical, where you're like, I just don't like...
Villains die, heroes live. That's not...
Who lives, who dies, who tells your story.
Kubo does.
But do you know the big boob lady that Aizen cut down because he's like, this is taking too long? She lives.
Cause was she ever shown sympathetic?
No, I don't think so.
Probably because she has big boobs.
She doesn't get any backstory. Maybe it's all just women. No, there's other characters that live too. And it's just like, you get to a point where you're just like, I just don't know who is dead and who isn't dead anymore, especially when people get, which we'll get to in the final arc. Someone gets like obliterated and they're not dead. But anyway, Gin is dead. This is a good finisher scene for Gin, even if it's like, again, because it's meaningless, because what happens is then Ichigo pops in and then you're like, okay, this is the fight I've been waiting for, because obviously no one else is going to beat him.
It also comes out of nowhere, Gin's death, because this feels like it should have happened way earlier, and Kubo forgot Gin's a character.
I feel like he was trying to wait and use him for something, but it's like, I just don't know what. It's like, I think he had his fight with Ichigo during this arc, and it's like, I think Kubo wanted him to use his Bankai there, and then he did, and then it's like, well, I don't want him to be a bad guy, die a bad guy, so he's got to die to Aizen somehow. It's just...
Yeah. No, I do understand that idea where if he dies to...
Ichigo, yeah, he dies a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He redeems himself before he dies, or whatever. It's not...
This shit I hate in general. Like, Grimjaw... Grimjaw could have fucking died in his scene. And, like, he wouldn't have died a bad guy because you understood his deal. Like, if Jin died, I don't know, it just seems stupid. Arbitrary.
Guess who isn't? Guess who else isn't dead?
I know, I could tell just because they made him a character before he died. As we were talking, I thought Jin was dead.
No, but they've done backstory, like they did backstory of the big Death King guy, the guy that used to be the king of Hueco Mundo, and there's another guy that got like an extended backstory, but like both of them.
Grimjaw's popular.
There you go.
No, but so that's what I mean. Like Grimjaw should have died then, and he
Yeah.
still wouldn't have had a bad guy's death necessarily. Like it wouldn't have felt like one. Because
Because it did the anime thing where at least if you give the bad guy motivation and backstory, you can. I feel like you can kill them then because it's like they have.
you just cheated them to be a fully fledged character right before they die.
Right.
After writing them as a caricature for most.
Which
of
is
their
an okay
existence.
thing to do.
I think it's done so often. It's a like annoying cliche at this point that you can't just have a two-dimensional character just be a two-dimensional character and die.
Which I agree. Like you got to see that stuff in and stuff.
And I felt the same way. That's another reason why part 2 I'm like was overrated because I felt Byakuya should have died.
No.
Yeah.
Just take that back.
No, because I mean I like Byakuya, but I feel like he's dying for honor.
I see that the thing that's a bit difficult is that if he dies, like Ichigo killed no one that entire arc, and if he did kill people, I feel like he'd be seen as kind of like against the Soul Society, whereas the Soul Society become protagonists.
But then that gets into like narrative convenience because I feel like character-wise he should die for sake of the law based on his character.
Kinda. Like, I wouldn't disagree with you there. It's just like, because if you're gonna make Soul Society good guys, it'd be a little difficult to have them get killed by.
But it's funny you
characters.
mentioned that when Mengele becomes on-side angel. It's
That's
just
true. But he was started on the villain side, so he's allowed to be evil.
I know that's why animes always annoys me because they eventually just have arbitrary fucking character decisions like who becomes redeemed, who doesn't, who lives.
Anyway,
who doesn't.
we'll end Ryan's suffering soon.
Yeah, this fight
Guys
just
are
goes.
such-
This is a really long.
It's funny.
fight.
My whole life, I've listened to people just talk about anime, and like it's like one of those blind spots that I had, and I've always been like, God, this is so terrible. If only I'd experienced these things. And even though I've read it, it's just as bad.
Poor Ryan. So
It's
no,
okay.
wait, no,
It's
not
okay.
poor you. You still talk about comic books, and I feel this way. So
Yeah, no, it's fun. I'm enjoying being the spectator to you fucking weebs.
Ichigo comes
Well,
back.
I want to say that I think this has gone very downhill by this point. Like I would say, I would stand by the earlier stuff and say this is great. But we're here. I'm like, I liked a lot of this chapter still more than I thought I would. But I'm like, this is still the worst what we've read so far.
I think Deicide is a cool chapter name.
Yeah.
Except they don't kill him.
Yeah, that's true.
I was on board.
Spoilers, no.
I was still on board for most of this stuff, but that's because my expectations were lowered, and I kind of embraced the stupidity of it.
Yep. So Ichigo comes back, and he's basically trained because remember how Orihime was captured between dimensions and stuff?
Yeah.
So when Ichigo goes to real Karakura Town from Fake Karakura Town, he's in between dimensions too. And then his dad's like running with him, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to learn the secret to Getsuga Tensho?" He's like, "What?" Because I guess they have the same sword or something. I don't know how that works. It's not
It's
explained
passed
either.
down. When you have a kid,
His dad's like, you got to train for like a year and like meet with your sword. And then remember that old man that was Ichigo's sword? That wasn't actually his sword. That was only one part of his sword. It fuses with his hollow self to become like a new like half form of them both. And it's like, I'm the real Zangetsu and now I'll train you. And none of that stuff makes any sense because
It's funny because the thing that really made me say fuck this comic is you describing Ichigo's dad and everything involved with him. Like he was just a simple character. Why'd you have to fucking do all this
he was a simple character, and now he's like, I'll be the final master that trains you how to use your sword. Where it's like, do you even know what his sword is? But whatever. He trains him. So now Ichigo's in his. And this is where I was saying, like, Bankai, for, like, all the captains, Bankai's their last form and stuff. But then Ichigo goes into, like, real Bankai form, where now his sword is, like, has a chain on it that's wrapped around his arm, and he's got these, like, really cool black, long Shinigami robes. And then he's like, Aizen's like, shit, like, you think you can do anything? I can't even feel any kind of energy from you.
No, but he's questioning. Aizen is more questioning, like, why can't I feel anything from him? Usually I could feel something.
Yeah.
Oh no, Quincy questions that, or somebody does. There's
No, I think
somebody
it's
who
Aizen.
It's
right?
it's Aizen
that
saying it, where he's like, I don't sense a modicum of
okay,
Reiatsu
yeah,
from
yeah.
you.
And he's like,
No, but somebody else says it first. I think. I don't know. Whatever.
He's like,
No, never mind.
Oh,
It's Tatsuki. It's his old friend. Remember the one that Ichigo said you have to stay behind to?
Aren't
She's
you
like,
my Nakama?
Yeah, she's like, I sense power from Aizen, but not from Ichigo. And then
Okay,
Ichigo's like,
see, I knew it was something.
yeah. Ichigo looks at Gin, and Gin like is like, I can leave the rest to you. And then he's
oh,
and then-
again, it's so cliche.
King can't have a despair death. He has to fucking see that Ichigo's gonna kick Aizen's ass before he dies.
yeah. And then Ichigo goes, let's change our location. I don't want to fight here. And Aizen's like, well, that's pointless. I'm like, we can't change because you're not capable of fighting me. And then Ichigo grabs his face and just like jumps with him. Kind
It's,
of like
it's such a crazy 2 pages. Like in mid-sentence, Aizen, his face is just like being pushed out of the city. Like
Yeah.
he just jumps into a
See,
mountain range.
even here, Zack Schneider, you can have the hero be like, let's go away from this populated area. It's not that fucking hard.
Yeah. Aizen was nice enough to oblige too. And so Aizen's like, I understand now. You lost your Ryatsu because you just turned everything into brute strength. You're just really, really strong. You have no magic. You're just all physical strength.
And this is where the book started wanting me back again because
So I didn't like it for fucking 4 minutes.
but like the fucking now he's just purely the Hulk. He's just pure strength.
Yeah.
It's like in
he
D-
dumped all of his other stats and only focused on strength.
Yeah, like just full party stats. It's like in D&D where you have all these elaborate weapons and gears to get, and you're like, no, I'm gonna play a monk and use my fists. That's what Ichigo did, and I fucking love it. And the scene where he grabs Aizen's face is like the equivalent to me of
Bankai.
puny
Orgasm.
god when Hulk goes puny god to Loki in
Yeah.
Avengers.
So they just clash swords a whole while. They like shoot beams at each other. They're destroying the thing, and it's like Ichigo's really calm and collect, and just like talking to him. And Aizen's like trying to reason this out and figure out. It's like, you won't be able to beat me. I'll beat you. Then he's casting Hado 90, like this special spell on him. Ichigo just shatters it, and he's like, boom, and then he cuts him. And it looks like again you could end it here. He cuts Aizen down after he shatters the spell. No, it has to keep going. Aizen teleports.
Wait, is this after the change of landscape moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one thing. Aizen is like, you must be surprised. One swing of my sword has changed the whole landscape. That's how strong I am. Even I didn't think my powers would increase this much. And then that comes back later.
Oh, that change landscape moment. Yeah.
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 Yeah, there's also a scene where in the fight, Aizen goes to slash Ichigo, and instead of dodging, he grabs his sword mid-slash, and Aizen's like it's almost undodgeable, but I can almost understand him dodging it, but stopping it, how could this guy be so strong?
Yep, and then like Aizen gets away from him, then Ichigo. I like this part where it's like, you asked me why I kept my distance, but here you are doing the same to me, staying away from me.
And as he gets mad, he's like, do not get above yourself, human.
Yeah, and then Aizen has his own moment where he's like, that's it, I'm going to go up another power level. And then he releases like, who knows what form or what's going on anymore. It's like, he
Is
turns
this the
into...
final Getsuga Tensho?
No,
not yet.
Aizen. Aizen turns into big demon form with like his skull and big eyeball. I feel like this is a more fitting final boss.
It's not that impressive a form, honestly. I don't know.
I think it looks cool.
I like it too, yeah.
But it doesn't feel like a final form, like a god. Like I feel like these are forms we should have had earlier. You know, I don't know. It just seems like.
Did you want him to turn to like giant guy?
I don't know. Like it just. I feel like when he turns to a butterfly, like him becoming more purified state, that felt like a bigger deal than him just becoming another demon.
I agree with Sly on this. I thought the more like simple white minimalist separated him from the other like demons. I think this looks cool, but it looks more like all the other stuff.
Yeah, like if you show me,
I feel like it's him like maybe tapping into his hollow self more.
But like if you showed a lineup of like all the different forms that everyone used, I would feel like Aizen's final that previous form was more of a final form than this one. This seems like another demon.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, Aizen shoots big lasers with because all of his wings now have mouths on them. They can shoot lasers, and he's attacking him. He's like, "Boom! I'm gonna use all these lasers." And then Ichigo's like, "Is this all you've got?" And he's like, "What, Nani?" And then he goes, "I'm gonna do the final Getsuga Tensho." And I actually cut out even more pages where
oh my god,
his sword was explained to him. It's like, when you use me, I will disappear, and this is why I feel sad. This is why it's always raining here, because I know this day will come or something. And then Ichigo transforms, and he's got like all these bandages over him, and then he goes,
he fucking like I don't know, like Strider
ninja,
like a ninja.
He looks like Sheik too from Octopath.
Yeah, like Sheik, Strider,
so
all
cool.
those characters.
I'm
Okay,
into this.
it's a cool design, all right?
yeah,
I know
I'm
it's
into this look a lot.
It's a cool design, but I don't think it just feels so not Ichigo. Like this
That's fair.
visually, this doesn't signal Ichigo at all to me anymore.
yeah. And then he says, "I myself become, I think my sword."
He says, "I become Getsuga."
Yeah,
Getsuga Tensho is not just a move; it me.
it me. And so Aizen's like, I can't believe it. Like, he always felt a dimension above everyone else, and now that Ichigo has these powers, he's like, Ichigo's now like a dimension above me.
Yeah, because he said when I was a dimension above everyone, they couldn't. The only way they could sense me is when I lowered my power level to their level so they could see me. And he's like, the fact that I can't see him is because he's so much above me that I can't even feel his power.
And then Ichigo uses Mugetsu, and then you just get this giant, like, black, again, like, spilling ink everywhere.
Moonless sky.
As the pages go on, it's a lot of black, like, as Aizen's in it, and then it forms into, like, a little slit, and then Aizen falls down. And as Ichigo uses this gets rid of all of his Shinigami powers. They're now, like, gone, and they evaporate away from him.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Aizen's not dead, though, which it's so funny. It's just like, even with that thing, it's like a third dimensional being, or like a dimension above being using their super final
Darryl,
move. It's
we're
like,
all third dimensional beings.
yeah. Aizen still survives, and Ichigo's like, "Oh crap, my powers are disappearing." And then Aizen's sword is disappearing, and he's like, "You know what that means? The Hogyokyu has decided I no longer need a Zanpakuto. He doesn't need a sword." And now he's like, "I'm so strong." And then a laser shoots through him, and then it was Hat and Clogs, and it's like, "This is my keikaku all along. I've been waiting for you.
I put a spell on you."
Yeah, I've been waiting to do this."
Can you
Like,
imagine
put you in
like
the
the
spell.
day to day, like having this plan, like plans like these in the back of your life? Like you're making breakfast and thinking, I gotta remember on day 1500 I have to do this.
Well, at least this keikaku's not that. This just happened. Like
I know, like all these plans are coming together. Like it's just so fucking crazy.
No, this is when he fought him originally. He's like, he did this thing to him. He put this.
yeah, but
spell
how
on
long
him.
ago was that? You know.
That was like a year ago. So he fights him, and he's like, "Okay, now I'm gonna seal you with this." And then the Hogyokyu basically doesn't activate for him anymore because it's denied, like it's refused its master. And Aizen, as he's screaming at him, he says, "I despise you. With your intellect, why do you make no move? Why do you obey that thing?" And Hat and Clogs goes, "That thing? Do you mean Spirit King or the Soul King?" He says, "I see. So you've seen him." Soul Society would splinter if not for the king. He is the linchpin. Without it, it would crumble. This is the way the world works. And Aizen says that is loser's logic. The victor must always speak of not how the world is, but how it should be. And this is why I'm like, I love Aizen. He's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But then Aizen gets sealed into like a cross, and then that ends that fight.
And they sentence him to 18,800 years in the lowest prison of the like Soul Society jail.
Yeah.
And then he starts shit talking them.
They put him into a BDSM outfit. Like,
Yeah, he's wrapped up. He's strapped to this chair, and I just want to point out that I love this chair, and this is gonna be great because this is where Aizen's gonna be for the rest of the series, and it's just amazing. Because constantly people always ask people that tuned out from Bleach. I saw a lot of them come back and ask like forums and stuff. They're like, "Is Aizen still strapped to that chair?" And people are like, "Yes, he's still on this chair."
well, they sentenced him to be strapped to that chair forever. So
Yep.
Not for 18,000 years, and then he shit talks them, and then
Yeah.
they're like 20,000 years. Fuck you.
Yeah. And then we have Ichigo. We cut ahead. We skip all the Soul Society captain stuff that I didn't want to include. And
No,
it's-
this is that was a good decision because this was a nice final note to end it on.
Yes.
Yep. And then Ichigo wakes up and he's back in his home, and standing over him is Rukia, Chad, the Quincy, and Orihime. And then Orihime's like, Kurosaki-kun, and then she has this cute moment where she's like, everyone's so calm, but I'm the only one that shouted out. And Rukia explains he's been asleep for like a month. And he's like, oh, my power. And he notices that his power is like disappearing. And what's going to happen now? Like his power stabilizes himself first, and then it slowly starts to fade away.
Yeah, and since his power's fading away, he can't sense any spirits anymore. So he
Goes
walks-
outside and he can't see ghosts.
And he says, and Rukia's presence is fading away a bit at a time. And Rukia says, "This is goodbye, Ichigo."
Yeah, it's like, it seems that way, doesn't it? Then she's like, don't look so sad. Even if you can't see me, I'll still be able to see you. And he's like, what? That's something to be happy about. And I don't look sad. Then you have one panel of them looking down as Rukia's fading away.
Rukia is slowly Thanos
Fading
snap.
away.
I don't feel so good. I
Yeah.
don't feel so good.
Yeah. Ichigo. And then
Kurosaki,
Mr.
I don't feel
Kurosaki-kun. And then he says, tell everybody I said hi. And she says, sure. And he says, later, Rukia. And she looks up at him, and then she's gone. And he says, thank you.
Again, I was like, that would be nice if the series ended here. I
Yeah,
wish they would
if this was the ending of Bleach,
Darryl told me in the anime the series kind of ends here.
It doesn't end here.
But
So-
it doesn't go much crazier than this.
So, real quick, what do we think about this? Like, how do we feel about Bleach at this point in time?
if Bleach, I think it's pretty clear that I've been checked out for a little while in this arc.
A little
And,
while?
I wasn't, yeah. But like, if Bleach ended here, I would be like, I wasn't as into the second half of the stuff, but I still understand what they were going for. It's still doing shonen stuff. It was, there were parts that I wouldn't do, but I would overall look at it as something that was very good, got okay at times, but really came around at the end and had a good ending. If it ended here.
So you like the end zone stuff, yeah.
Because right here, this feels like everything kind of wraps up pretty well.
Yeah. Except the one thing where he said
About the Soul King?
the Soul King. It's like obviously
Yeah.
seeding like more.
But like for the most part, it's pretty wrapped up. And now that Rukia is out of the way, Ichigo and Orihime could finally be together and my dreams could come true. But yeah, I would like it, I think.
What about you,
overall.
Phil?
if it ended here or in general,
Yeah, just what do you think about Bleach up to this point?
the pacing is god awful.
Yeah.
But it's like again, like I said before, I like it, but if I wouldn't read it or watch it. Like
I like it, but I wouldn't experience it.
So it's gone from I will watch this to now you're like I wouldn't watch this.
I'm just wondering, like, if this arc was like 100 episodes, like I don't think I could do it. Like,
I think it's more than that.
yeah, I don't think I could bear it. It's like if this had like more again modern shonen pacing where these fights took an episode each and they got to show off cool powers even for each captain. You give each captain a 1 episode fight, but I bet in the anime there are 2 or 3 episodes per guy, and like
That's still better than like Dragon Ball Z.
I know.
Yeah, but Phil's saying a lot of modern shows have
Yeah.
better
My
pacing.
my standards are so fucking low for
No,
shonen.
but Sly, you're thinking of like they're fighting like the boss for like 25 episodes. Like I'm saying, like if you want to have 15 captains all have their own fight, you got to make that like 1 episode each max.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I bet you they don't. And like I like a lot of the powers. I like a lot of the fights. The characters are cool, but the pacing and the length is just too bad for me.
What do you think, Sly? Are you like? You said you were into this the most.
So you when you told me about the fucking shit of the dad, that
I like how that's what got you. Like, not.
No, I really hate that in fiction. Like I hate. That's what
But what about all the filler characters you missed out on? Doesn't that seem appealing?
When Ryan talked about how part 1 and like part 2 were. I forgot what Ryan said already. I think when people say part 2, like part 2, I was ready. Like part 2 is kind of dumb already.
Mm-hmm.
So like all this dumb stuff in this part is stuff I had problems with in part 2. Like I didn't like I found it really convenient that Orihime and Chad all happen to have magical powers too to keep being in the plot. Mm. And Aizen's power was full of complete bullshit, and it was and like all fights ended when they're known to end. Mm-hmm. Characters didn't die when they should have died. Like all those problems were already there, and I was just like, I'm gonna be along for a ride. But like I don't know, did the dad have to be fucking Shinigami? Like that, like I don't know. Maybe that's like that's weird, but like it's like he's just like why? Like it's like anime becoming like the destroyer universes. I don't know. It just seems so extra dumb to me because you already have, especially because you have the mom already as his. Who's
to say the mom wasn't a Shinigami?
No, but like she was already like his tether to the spiritual world. Did you need another one? Like it just seems like he doesn't even know like what his his characters anymore. I don't know. It just feels really weird.
So this was the UIquiorra fight was my first introduction to Bleach. I ended up watching it like on Crunchyroll just because I wanted to see. It's like, what is episode 300 of Bleach? What is happening during this? And I think that was the UIquiorra fight. And that's where I was like, I want to know, how do you get here? And I liked UIquiorra's design. I'm like, I want to see this guy's origin and stuff.
Is that why he's your favorite character? Because he sold you on the show.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, I actually watched Dragon Ball when I saw Cell fighting Goku, and I'm like, what is this show?
Sometimes cool character design carries it.
Cell's always my favorite.
I mean, they're visual mediums. Cool character design is important to pique your interest.
Especially for villains. True. You're like, who is this guy?
So I have a soft spot for like this arc. Just like I like the idea of the hollows. Like you're taking actual villains and you're trying to like see if some of them are good or some of them are bad. I like some of their powers. I like some of their designs. And I was never like super, despite knowing everything about Bleach now, I never really felt like super for this. And once you get to this point, this is a good point to be checked out. And it's like Bleach didn't like, it ended, the very end of it, like Ryan said, is good, but it didn't like end well. It didn't end on a strong note, but it's like, it's okay for what it is, kind of.
But it does feel like it ends. Like it feels like it wraps up more than I expected for part 5 of Who Fucking Knows.
It doesn't end because Rukia and Ichigo have to be together at the end.
That's a good suspicion. But we have 2 arcs to go. So
Jesus.
The good news, I'm gonna preface you guys for this. So the next arc is about as long as the very first one was, where Ichigo's the substitution Soul Reaper. So it's a very short arc, and it's really interesting because it's all about Ichigo when his powers are lost. It's like a year later.
Like Superman has no powers, and he has to watch, whatever.
Yeah, he has to go around and like watch people and talk to Booster Gold.
How do you fucking go back to living a normal life after fucking flying through space as a demon man?
And so that one's my favorite because it does very ambitious things that unfortunately we're going to skip almost everything from it because the more plot interesting stuff is the very final arc. So next time we're going to be covering I'm going to give a big spiel in the beginning. I'll talk to you about what I like about the Fullbringer arc and what I find interesting. A lot of people hate this arc. They feel like it's filler because like not a lot happens during it, and it's in like almost an entirely new cast. Not entirely new. It's a lot of new people and Chad and Orihime and the Quincy.
It's also the arc you said that the anime ends on, so people feel like it ends on a bullshit filler.
Yes, arc. And that's the thing. Is like this is the arc the anime ends on, and it does not feel fulfilling. Like when you're watching it, it feels kind of like it's a lead up to another arc, and then after that. We have the 1,000-Year War, and that'll be fun.
Oh my god, this comic's gonna go on for 1,000 pages?
And actually, it goes on for more than that many pages. But do you want me to tell you who the villain is in the 1,000? Because this doesn't build up to it at all.
No.
Don't tell us anything.
Don't tell us anything.
Are you sure? Oh, I'm just saying because I tell you literally in one of the splash pages. I'm just like, this is the villain of this arc. So it's either I tell you now or
Okay,
you just read
Darryl.
it.
Darryl, you've done all this work. You've planned all this stuff. If you want to tell us,
If it gets you off, you can do it.
I just want your honest, raw reaction. So who could the villains of the final arc be?
I mean, I would say the Soul King, but I'm pretty sure it's fucking Ichigo's dad or something.
Hot clogs. I don't know.
Ooh, that's another good guess.
Someone that comes out of nowhere for the last 5 pages.
That's not wrong. What if I told you that secretly, well, this has been going on for 1,000 years, a secret army of Quincy's has been gathering strength?
That's actually really cool. I like
That's
that.
actually pretty interesting. I mean,
Well, because they fight Shinigami, right? So it's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
that makes
And
sense.
this is the funniest thing when Sly's like, let's just call the Quincy a Quincy because he's a Quincy. I'm like, oh my god, the 1,000-year war arc has all the enemies are Quincy's.
All right, so I have to remember his name. What's his fucking name again?
It's too late. He is the Quincy.
Okay.
You could call him Glasses Quincy.
Glass.
It's Uryu Ishida. I feel like it's too late to refer to him by his
yeah,
name.
it's Glasses Quincy.
And what's cool is you're like, oh, he should play a big part of this because this is like his clan and his tribe coming to power. But we'll see what happens there.
Oh boy.
So that's the end of the Iranka arc.
Just to let the listener know, we are taking a break from Bleach for 1 episode for Legacy Vember, and then
Yeah.
we'll be back.
We're doing our filler episode of Legacy
Yeah.
Vember.
And then we'll be back for more Bleach.
And these
You
should be
think
the
that'll be 2 parts? Or
yes, these should be
more?
the final 2 parts.
Okay.
Christ.
Ryan has to ask, will it be 2 parts? Are you fucking
Yeah,
kidding?
Ryan's like, please let
No,
it be 1.
My question was, will it be more than that?
Oh,
No,
okay.
no. So this was the arc I was most concerned with including everything in because a lot happens here. So much of the Quincy arc is skippable. It's so funny. But it's tough too because the most interesting parts are all like the non-essential plot stuff. Where it's like fights that Sly would like, I would want to include, but those are also like that's how it gets bloated.
That's a problem with this manga in general. Like, I like the in-between stuff, and it doesn't... If you put it all in, it sends a bad picture of what it actually is. Because I imagine it's not as interesting when you read it all together.
Yeah, I feel bad for Ryan because I feel like we have almost nothing interesting coming up that you're gonna be looking forward to.
I love that Darryl keeps feeling bad for me as if I haven't made you read a bunch of bullshit for years for this show.
Yeah, but he hates you for it, so he's like, you hate me for
okay.
it too.
I see.
Yeah, I feel I'm like, don't hate me just because I'm making you read about the Quincy's.
I'll only hate you because you're beautiful, Darryl.
Okay.
Okay, so can we stop this?
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, as always, dear listener, you can find a bunch of other great content while you're waiting for us to get back to Bleach on the flyingmachine.network website. I want to mention the losers this time because much like Bleach, their most recent episode spilled into 2 parts. Where they
I
talked
thought
about
it's just about losers in general.
Much
Yeah,
like
me too.
Bleach.
Us reading it being losers.
well, they talked about the best pictures of 1979, several movies that I have never seen. But it's a 2-parter. You should definitely check that out, and all the other shows at flyingmachine.network. And yeah, that's our the usual stuff. You can find us at our Discord and our Twitter, all that kind of stuff. All those links are in the show notes. Anybody have anything specific they want to mention?
Don't read Bleach.
Okay. I second.
I just remember after we finished the first bit and people in like the Discord were like, maybe I should read Bleach again. I'm like, no. This is why I'm doing this. So you don't have to.
Darryl's public service announcement.
I know. I'm so excited about the Quincy War too because that's one where again
Darryl!
I'm sorry, just everyone stops reading Bleach at this point for good reason. I'm like, no one's seen the depths it goes to. Except John Marie.
So, for Divisive Issues, thank you so much for listening. I've been having a panic attack saying, what can I do to finally stop reading Bleach?
I've been drawn by the high school in his notebook.
I've known you guys since you were born.
And I've put all of my knowledge about all pieces of media into Bleach, and now I'm grabbing your faces and dragging you through it.
Stay in continuity.